When I first started out, I was lucky enough to get paired with a gentleman who would eventually become my mentor, and I usually actually ended up just calling him my work dad. And he was a great guy, and one day he looked up at me, we shared an office and things were quiet, and he said, "We have this problem." And so I started offering suggestions, and he would ponder them, and then he would look back at me and go, "Well, if we do that, then this will happen." And I'd say, "Okay," and then we'd adapt and we'd go, and eventually, we'd come to a solution. And this would happen time after time. And after a couple of years, when we've really gotten to know each other really well, he had brought up another issue. We were talking, and I just kind of watched his eyes start to gleam, right? And he got this glint in them, and he started smiling as I was talking. And we were going back and forth, and he was having a lot of fun with playing devil's advocate with me and helping me develop these ideas. And finally he went, "Yes, that's what we'll do." And I looked at him and I said, "You already did this, didn't you?" And he went, "Yes, I did." And I looked at him, "You've done this the whole time, haven't you?" Yes, I have." And what I realized from that was he was teaching me to flex new muscles. And that is eventually what he kind of described it as when he would recommend that I did things that were out of my comfort zone. Say, "Adam, you need to go out and you need to stretch these muscles, flex them, see what that feels like." And so what he was teaching me to do was look at an issue from multiple angles, go through a through line of how that will play out and what that will do, and to try to develop the best possible plan. And I drive my staff absolutely insane because we sit in meetings and they tell me about issues, and I question them. And I say, "What happens if that happens?" We go back and forth, and what ends up happening is they develop a more comprehensive plan, and they gain the confidence to also try to develop these ideas before they even bring them to me. And that is really the main thing that I think he did for me, was to give me the confidence to strike out and just do what I think is right, because I had already developed it and had a history of making the right decision. Enabling others to act is a really important aspect of leadership, right? And part of this is a way of developing buy-in from your staff, because you're giving them the option, you're letting them make the decisions, and you're letting them go forward and do what they think is best, which gives them ownership of what they do and what their problem is. And there's a true benefit to a leader in that you no longer have to lead them directly. You get to lead them in a general sense, point the direction that everybody needs to travel in, and you can trust that they're going to get there because you've worked with them and that you know how they'll think, because you help them develop that pathway.
Enabling others to act is about encouraging people to empower them to be confident in their decisions and their judgment. There are some times, especially working in public service, where you don't have time to really sit there and really hesitate in making a decision. And it doesn't have to be high risk, it could be low risk. People should feel comfortable in making choices that benefit their department, their workplace, or the customers or people that they serve. If you can imagine working in a team where you don't trust anybody and when you are so fractured that you're doing different things, nobody knows what's going on. It creates miscommunication, it creates confusion. But if you can imagine a team that works together and they believe in what they're doing and it's the same thing, everything kind of just gels together and it becomes really cohesive and high functioning. And people, in the end, without trying, end up having fun at work. They look forward to coming to work because they look forward to seeing their teammates. And so we have a lot of programming. We just have a lot of, the summer reading program has a lot of aspects, and they were really successful. We had a highly attended kickoff. As a result, we actually had a bigger program later on in the month that had almost double the attendance, and it went so smooth. It went really smooth, and the staff members that planned that program were so motivated from the success of the prior program that they didn't really need my guidance at that point. They were able to just plan it, prepare it, and execute it on their own.
But along the way, we all lift each other up, and good leaders are the first who come to help and lift ones who fall. I want to share a story. When I was working back in Afghanistan in an academy, we called it ANCA, A-N-C-A, which was Afghan National Customs Academy. So in that Customs Academy, we had mentors from the United States and local people who were working as trainers and translators. One of our leaders, who's a great manager, and now a good friend of mine here. He stood out because of constantly using inclusive language. And in a hostile environment, in a hostile country, in a country that is at war, you trust someone who's a local, and you, instead of calling your own American team as we and then them, or the locals, the trainers and people who are not Americans, that is not inclusive. But he wasn't doing that, so he was using the word we, and it was like all of the team of locals, they were like, oh, so we mean we are with the team. It created that empowerment, it created that sense of ownership, and it created that we are included and everybody was working towards the goal. And because of that, not myself, but others also moved from, like that vital courage moving towards moral courage, where you're working for the common good, where you are working not just for your own good, you're working for the organization, meeting the organization goals. So that really stood out to me, using inclusive language. And that shaped up my understanding of working in teams and trying not to exclude folks. And every time I talk to my team members and to folks, I try to make sure that no one is excluded.